on this week's episode of BJ in the Morning, we're finally going to finish the story of how we created BJ in the Morning. Let's go.
Welcome to BJ in the Morning. I'm Juan.
And I'm Brendan.
And this is part 3.
And the last part.
Hopefully.
No, it is. It's gonna be. It's gotta be. We don't have much more life here. We've only been alive 3 decades.
If we do more than 3 parts, I'm quitting.
Me too.
I'm quitting the podcast.
It'll be the last episode.
We're over. We're done.
Done.
So let's get to it.
All right, let's get it. Let's get it. So last we left off, we were talking about like videos that we were making with producer Chris. For those of you who listen to BJ in the Morning version 1, producer Chris videos, all those fun things. So that's about where we left off. But there's still a lot more.
So much.
So why don't we jump right into what you were working on during this time too?
So around that time, I started my photography journey.
The journey, man.
The journey. I had bought my original camera to do video.
Yeah.
I don't know if you knew that.
No. Wait. Yes.
So, yeah, I bought my camera on a whim because I wanted to start doing videos and vlogs and stuff like that on my own.
Yeah, because I think me and one of our other friends were also doing vlogs at the time.
Yeah.
And we were all just doing it to stay making things, you know? So I think I remember you and me talking a lot about it. And we both kind of came to the conclusion at the same time that we don't do anything vlog worthy. Like we're not living like lavish lives. We go to work, we come home from work.
And the weird part is, and I'm sure you can relate, is that when I started vlogging, it was like I forgot how to talk. You know, so like as soon as I set up the camera, let's say you're holding the camera, I can talk to the camera no problem,
or the
camera right here. But all of a sudden I'm holding the camera with nobody around me, no direction, and I have to start talking.
You're like, who am I?
Yeah,
what do I like? What do I do?
I have to start talking to what?
Yeah,
you know, so I don't know. It was weird. And then I started like editing together this video I did. And it was like, it was just a lot of me not talking, just doing shit.
Yeah.
You know?
I remember you making coffee.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was probably the best part.
Yeah. And then
of the whole video.
It was really cinematic. Like you were like really going for different angles and shots and close-ups and everything. And then you had, I don't know. There was something else you did. I don't remember. I
drove out to the domes in Casa Grande, and that whole trip was just trash.
Yeah,
because it's like, what am I supposed to talk about for this hour-and-a-half drive?
The domes,
right? But that's just not what went through my brain, you know. So it was like a lot of video of me just driving, video of me recording myself just driving, not even talking.
Yeah,
and it was just like, this I don't think is for me. And
so around that time, like I said, I was vlogging too. I only made like 6, you know, but I was having a lot of fun with it, and I was really trying to do other things other than just like daily vlogs. I was trying to like make things of it. But no, I get where you're coming from, because most of my vlogs I was with other people except for like one of them. We were doing something. We had like a mission, like a goal, like so it was easy to talk. It was easy to talk about things, talk to people. And I realized that you do have to script some things out for vlogs, like talking points at least. One of the last ones I made was kind of reminiscing about life and like creating and hanging out and getting older and things like that. And I went out to like the desert where we used to like make forts and stuff. You remember all those?
Yeah.
So I just went out there and walked around and just talked about life and where I thought it was going. And the only reason that I was able to make that is because I realized I had to pretend that I was talking to one specific person who was gonna make the video or
Right.
watch the video.
Yeah.
So I was making it for one person while I was shooting it, but I was making it for an audience while I was producing the whole thing.
Right.
But yeah, I never made one after that.
So once I had bought my camera, I was just, I don't know, after I did the one vlog, I was so unmotivated, and I personally felt like maybe I'm not talented enough to do this.
You're
because
not. I'm just kidding.
Thank you.
I'm just kidding.
But that's just how I felt. Like, I felt not talented. I felt like, oh, it's, everything that I've done in the past was you guys. You know what I'm saying? And I was like, I can't do this. And I don't know. I probably had my camera for pretty close to a year, and I barely did anything with it. And at the time, I was going through a breakup, and I was still living in the same house as this person. And I was like, I need to get the fuck out of my house.
Yeah.
So what I did was I grabbed my camera, I called up one of my buddies and was like, hey, you want to go do a photo shoot?
Yeah.
And he was like, yeah, sure, let's go. And we went, and that was my first ever photo shoot that I ever did. And I personally thought it came out great. Looking back on those photos now, it's not as good.
Right.
But it was my first ever photo shoot, and that sparked the photography, you know what I mean? Which I had already dabbled in. I took like one picture here and there with my camera. But that was my first real photo shoot. And I was like, I need to find people to take pictures of. And at first, I wasn't a fan of portraits. I hated it. Like, hated it so much. I hated editing people.
Yeah.
I don't know why. Probably because I went so heavy on the editing that it made it look fake. And then slowly learned how to, tone it back so that the people still look natural.
Yeah.
And now that's all I do is portraits. Isn't that strange?
I think it works that way, though. Like, when I look back at it, I hated editing when I was, like, first learning everything, and that was my favorite part.
Yeah.
Because it's in the same vein of what you said, where it's, like, at first I'm like, I'm just chopping this up. Like, what's the point? Like,
yeah.
Why? I'm just chopping all this stuff together, and it takes forever, blah, blah, blah. But then I started realizing, like, no, you're taking out the stuff that is unnecessary and keeping only the necessary bits. And I can look at, like, editing from, like, those projects in high school where I'm like, oh, I should have cut earlier there. I should have cut earlier there. Oh, this transition or this flow of the sequence would have been better. If I would have swapped these shots and then added this kind of shot, things would have been better. And that's what editing is, right? It's like, how many times do you think we edited some of those projects? Just once. You know what I mean? Like, it's just once. But when you go through it again, you're like, this is why there's rough drafts. This is why there's first cuts and second cuts and final cuts. You know?
Yeah. So what's crazy is I want to do it again now because I feel like some time has passed, right? So when I first started for that first photo shoot ever, see if I can find it, because I feel like I have to show you because it's like crazy to me, like the difference. Let's see here. Okay, first photo shoot ever on my own. Edited everything by myself. Didn't ask no one for help. And I took this picture, right?
Yeah.
And we can put it up on the screen if you want. And then like 2 or 3 years later, I was with a different person, and I decided to recreate that picture in a way, and I have this one.
Yeah.
Big difference. Huge difference.
Yeah, not
I'll put
only
this
like
one up right here.
not only like clarity wise, but just composition wise. Even it's like that first one is like, no offense, is amateur. You
Yeah.
know, in the composition alone.
Yeah.
Because it's like, oh, I saw someone do this. I'm gonna do it.
Mm-hmm.
But you have like empty space in the left side of the frame, things like
Mm-hmm.
that. It's not a bad picture, but then you look at that other one and you're like, dang, you filled the frame with the subject. There's no like unintentional blank spaces, you know?
Right.
Like that's all the subject.
Yeah.
Like, and that's just like a good sign of learning from the past. You have to make those like stereotypical cliche shots, you know? It's like at weddings, right? It's like, have you shot weddings?
Oh yeah.
The first time you shoot a wedding, you're like, well, all I know is the weddings that I've looked up. So you do those pictures, right?
Right.
And then you're editing them and you're like, well, shit, I should have done this. Should have done that.
Yeah.
Because the one wedding that I did was like really small. It was like just like a group of a handful of people, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it felt more like a prom photo shoot than anything.
Yeah.
You know?
Mm-hmm.
Like, because it was just so lax and chill and we were just hanging out and the pictures were really fun, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So I had a good time with it and they had a great time. They loved the pictures.
I've done a couple weddings, like big weddings. They're not fun.
No, right? Because there's too much going on.
There's so much going on. It's a non-controlled environment.
Mm-hmm.
So no matter what happens, you know, especially during the ceremony, it's like, okay, there's main parts you want to get, right?
You get
everyone walking out.
Yeah, walk, the groom's first view,
Uh-huh.
the bride walking, the rings,
Mm-hmm.
the kiss,
Mm-hmm.
the
walk
walking out.
back.
Yeah. Those are, you have to get those or you're done.
Yeah.
You know?
But then, like, let's say, like, the most recent wedding I did, the lighting situation was horrendous.
Yeah.
Horrible.
Yeah. With
Like-
a capital WH.
Yes. Capital WH. Horrible. All right? And I didn't know what to do because obviously you want to expose for the picture.
Mm-hmm.
But it was outside and it was on like a balcony where everything was covered with shadow.
Mm-hmm.
So you can expose great, but then the background
It's
is
gonna be white.
washed out, completely just white in the middle of the day.
Yep.
And so I ended up underexposing, and I exposed for the background.
Mm-hmm.
And I fucking hated the fact that I couldn't see anything. And I wasn't using my new camera. I was using my old camera.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, wait. No, I had just bought my new camera.
So it was
So
like first time
my
out.
first time ever using my brand new camera. So I exposed for the background. Everything was almost pitch black in front of the background.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, like the bride was like, can I see some of those pictures? And I was like, sorry, I don't do that. You know, like, I don't
Especially now.
yeah, I'm like, I don't want you to see, you know, something that you don't like. Like, I don't want you to see it
Yeah.
unedited. Even though, like, I normally don't mind.
Mm-hmm.
And if you want to see it, you can see it.
But like in that situation, you know what you're doing. You
yeah.
know what your plan is
Mm-hmm.
for the next step.
Mm-hmm.
They only see that photo.
That
They don't.
picture.
Most people don't know how much work it is after the day, right?
Yeah.
It's like, oh, I'm just gonna pay you for the day. No,
Mm-hmm.
you know, like it's not that I'm just saying pay me for being there. It's, you want me to take 1,000 photos.
Mm-hmm.
I have 1,000 photos worth of editing to do, which on average, what probably takes you like on a quick edit where you don't have to do too much, probably 10, 15 minutes still, you know?
On 1,000 pictures?
No, like per picture.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
You know,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
like I don't think anyone would ever ask for 1,000 pictures from one photographer.
No way.
That's a lot.
So on that wedding,
Mm-hmm.
I took 3,000 pictures.
And they probably got what, like less than 100? They got more than that? Wow.
I gave them 600 pictures.
That's still like a huge difference.
2 weeks of editing.
Yeah.
And I didn't charge as much as I should have.
Mm-hmm.
I do this every fracking time. Every frickin' time.
Yeah.
I charge like, I don't know.
You don't have to get into the numbers.
No, but I should have charged a lot more.
Mm-hmm.
A lot more. A lot more. You know what I mean?
Yeah. But like that's the fine line, right? Is you and I have the same thing where it's like, oh, people come to us for content, and we always lowball it, and we end up like almost breaking even or being negative when we're done with it all, you know? And it's because we're not trying to be like some other photographers or like cinematographers out there, you know, like where they're just in it for the money. Because B, we're not just in it for the money,
right?
Like we like what we do, we have fun with it, which is why both of our day jobs are not creative. You know what I mean? Like it is 100% a hobby, if not a side gig sometimes. You know?
And I will never forget the first time I went and did a photo shoot and got paid for it. And I came home, we were living together, and you were like, guess what? You're a professional now.
Yeah, you got paid to do what you love.
What?
That's how it works.
I'm a professional.
Yeah.
But the thing is like, the way I price out my photo shoots, I always thought I'm not good enough to charge this much.
That was the last thing on my list of threes that I was going to say. It was like, that's the other thing, right?
Yeah.
Is sometimes we just don't feel good enough or like confident enough in the spot. Because my first shoot that I ever got paid for was graduation photos while we were still in high school.
Yeah.
And I was like, I'm just going to do it. Like, I don't want any money. Like, let me do it. And I still like show those pictures off sometimes because they were still pretty good. Like,
yeah,
for a high school student. And they gave me like $60 as a tip. And I was like,
I just got paid.
Whoa.
Sick.
Like, I just got my first job, you know? Like, wow.
So I always felt like I wasn't good enough, or why would you like my pictures? Or I'll be like editing and I'll be like, I hate these pictures. I hate them.
Yeah.
Why am I so bad at this? And then I'll send them to be like, oh my God, I love it.
No, and I've had the reverse happen to me where I did photos and I thought they were great. And I was like, oh, I should have charged more. And then the client never talked to me after.
I've had that.
Like, ever. I sent pictures. I sent all the pictures because it was like, I felt really good about it. I spent a lot of time on it. And they just, nothing.
Yeah, I've had that recently too, where like, I'm not an amateur anymore. And I went and did this photo shoot for free.
Yeah.
Let me just say, it was for free. This person reached out to me. Like, probably it was for maternity photos. They reached out to me when they got pregnant. Okay. So think about how much time has passed. We scheduled it for like April for when they were supposed to be like 6-7 months. And then never heard from them. And I reached out, was like, hey, you're probably getting pretty close to like
needing those photos,
popping that baby out, you know? And I was told, hey, right now we don't have the funds for a photo shoot and, just getting everything ready for the baby. I'm like, you know what? I'll do it for free. You reached out to me in November. It is now like April, like, or whatever. So, no, it was more like June-ish. Anyways, so I did it for free. I edited the pictures. I sent them. And I got a response saying, thank you. Can't wait to look at them. After that, nothing.
Yeah.
Nothing.
Yeah, and it's like, I want to know if you're not happy. Yeah. I want to know if there was things that you think I could have done better. Because that's how you learn. That's how you adapt. That's how you change.
But we all make mistakes, right?
Yeah.
Everyone can't love everything that you do.
Yeah, and I've definitely had that. I don't know, since I started doing like side gigs.
Yeah.
I haven't done one in a really long time. So
I did a party once. Somebody threw a party, like a family reunion,
mm-hmm.
and I went and I took pictures,
Mm-hmm.
and they had like Hawaiian dancers, and they had people like twirling the fire and doing the haka dance and all that stuff,
The
you know?
hula dance?
The haka?
The haka?
Yeah.
I'm so confused.
You don't know the haka?
The haka?
The haka when they're like, yeah, going all crazy?
Uh-huh.
You know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, no, I was messing with you.
But this lady was upset that I didn't
What
get
was the dance again? You want to do it one more time? Sorry, I just needed that out of my system. The lady was what?
She was upset that I didn't get enough pictures. And I'm like, okay. There's only so many pictures I can take when the family is doing the same thing from when I got there till when the party was ending, until I left.
Yeah.
You know, like people were inside eating.
Mm-hmm.
People were outside
Sitting in chairs.
sitting in chairs and smoking.
Yeah.
You know, smoking.
And then there was other people sitting in other chairs smoking.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And sure, they were all having a great time. The kids were in the pool. Like, I took pictures of that. I took pictures of the people sitting around. I took pictures of people eating, which I hate taking pictures of people eating.
And I think people hate getting their pictures taken while eating.
But it's like, what else am I supposed to take pictures of?
Yeah.
They had a DJ. No one was dancing.
Then why have the DJ?
No one was dancing.
Yeah.
And I got pictures of the Hawaiian stuff. And it's like, there's only so many pictures I could take.
Mm-hmm.
And so my dumbass was like, I'm sorry you didn't like the pictures. Next time you have a party, I'll come and do it for free. And I've been invited to like 4 of this lady's parties recently.
Jeez.
And I just haven't gone. I'm just like,
you don't owe them anything either, though.
no.
You know, like that's so circumstantial when it comes down to it. I don't know. But no, I think you and I have both discovered that we just need to find our worth and our value, and like not lowball ourselves, not lowball them, give them what they ask for, nothing more, nothing less. That's how it's supposed to be, right? It's a service that people forget about, you know, that it is a service that you're trying to make not only money, but also build a portfolio with it at the end of the day, right? Yeah, I don't know. I've done videos that took me no effort and got paid more money than I did for like videos that took forever. And, you know, like the Children's Museum video I did way back. That was so much fun, and it was literally no work.
Yeah.
Never saw the final product except for when I sent it, you know. Got paid and never heard from them again.
Yeah.
That is mostly how it should be. You know what I mean? Like mostly, right? They told me thanks and like, hey, this is where you'll be able to find it, and then I never found it, you know. But I don't know, personal gigs get kind of tricky.
Yeah.
Personal gigs for sure, like when it's just you and a person instead of you and a business or something. So,
and they can get tricky, but I feel like that's also the best way. It's more intimate. It's more, I don't know if that's a good word to use, but
no, I get what you're saying.
Yeah, it's
you
more
build like a rapport with
personal.
them. Yeah, you build a rapport, you get a relationship going. Because it can turn into multiple opportunities for a business, you know. You know, it's graduation photos from college, and then a couple years down the line, they're like, oh, you remember that photographer? We should get him for the wedding. You know, things like that, right? But then there's also just gotta be those one-offs where you're like, yeah, I'm not gonna work with you again.
You know what my favorite is when somebody believes that they cannot be photogenic. When they're so confident, they're like, oh, I'm just doing these pictures for my birthday. Good luck getting a good picture, you know? And it was like, all right.
You're like, hold my bag.
Hold my bag. Hold my 20-pound bag. But yeah, and then you send them the pictures, and they're like,
Wow.
I've had people in tears
Mm-hmm.
because they love the pictures so much. I'm like, oh my God.
Yeah.
Recently, since I've been traveling so much, I've been slack-a-lacking.
Mm-hmm.
And it makes me so mad because I'm like, honestly, I've learned so much. And I've gotten so much better from the day that I've started. And I was very big on it's the talent of the person, not the gear,
Mm-hmm.
right? So I never bought any new gear for like 5 years.
No, I think we both learned that like really early on in like learning creativity stuff. I think it was from Mr. Abel, where it's like it's not the equipment, it's the operator.
Yeah.
Like, and I think we're coming to a place where the world is like, or the world has so many options for everyone. Like the camera that's on our phones is better than the cameras we started using professionally. You know, that camera I got out of high school was like what, $4,000 at the time.
Yeah.
And it was a digital video tape.
Yeah.
Because that's what was professional at the time.
Yeah.
And we spent that much money on it and we used it a lot. It was tape, like, you know.
Yeah.
And now the camera quality in my cell phone is better than that camera would have ever been.
I had pushed myself to the point where I had a realization that I had to upgrade because there were so many upgrades out there available. Like my camera was the hot camera.
The day you bought it.
Yeah, the hot #1 camera in 2013. Not even the day I bought it. In 2013 is when that camera came out.
Yeah.
And it was this huge deal. And here I was. When did I buy my new camera? In 2020?
Something like that. It hasn't been that long.
2022?
Something like that.
Well, I bought my new camera. Or I convinced myself to buy the new camera because I'm like, I need to upgrade.
Yeah.
I have gotten to a point where I felt like I could not get any better unless I upgraded. You know what I mean?
And I think I was getting to a point like that too. I don't want to take you away from your photography stuff.
Oh, no. Right.
But I felt that way too, where I felt like I didn't have the equipment that I needed. I didn't have the knowledge that I was looking for, and like YouTube tutorials weren't really doing it for me.
Right.
And this was, again, back when you started doing photography. I didn't have a camera anymore, you know? Like, did I? I don't think I did. I had my like DSLR, because I got that from graduation as well, and I just never got rid of it. So I decided to go to college. That was, I still don't know if it was a good decision just yet.
Sure it was.
Sure. I learned some stuff. I have a piece of paper on my wall that says I did it. It's more of like a receipt than anything, but it's there. I did it.
A receipt.
But yeah, no, like when you get to that level where you're like, the things I have, the knowledge I have is all that I have. I need more. There's a lot of different ways you can go. And I want a degree. I think it'll help me in my future. So I went to school. So I applied at Full Sail and I think NAU and the U of A. And I got into NAU and I said, I don't want to go there. And then I got into Full Sail, which I think everybody gets into Full Sail, to be honest with you. Like,
think so?
Yeah, I don't think it's like a community college kind of thing. We're like, yeah, come on in. Come on. And I don't want to
How's your credit? No.
It's fine.
Not anymore.
I don't want to trash on the school. Like, I'm not trying to trash on the school, but, you know, their philosophy is basically like, we want to help everyone get better, no matter where you are. Do you remember the amount of times I came to you throughout my college times? Because it was all online. And I was like, I'm the youngest person in these classes. Everyone else's projects are what we were doing in high school or worse.
Yeah.
And I was like, I feel really bad saying that. But when you're in a creative type environment, 95% of the assignments were critique your fellow classmates' work. And the amount of times I had to come to you because we were hanging out a lot, and then we started living together, right? Or we...
We were hanging out.
Yeah. No, we were living together. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, I was like, here, slide my laptop over. Like, can you watch this and tell me how you feel?
Yeah.
Because I have nothing nice to say, and I felt so bad about it.
Mm-hmm.
And it wasn't like I was just being mean, like, oh, their story sucked or their composition sucked. Let me go back. It wasn't that their story sucked. It wasn't that they were bad people.
Mm-hmm.
It was technically bad.
Yeah.
Like, everything about it. I'm like, are we in the same class?
Yeah.
And I got really smug and really cocky in college. And I think we talked about it too. And it like really flipped when I ended up moving out of Tucson. Because I just was like, I'm too good for this. I'm better than all these people in this class. I wasn't like making any friends, like any contacts, any connections, anything like that. And when I moved, I just stopped going to school. Like I just stopped going to my classes for like 3 months.
Oh, wow.
Because I moved, I was doing a bunch of stuff for work. Definitely like in a new city, everything like that was really crazy. But I just stopped caring about school altogether. And then I started getting back into it, like picking it back up. Like I really need to buckle down. And then COVID happened.
Yeah.
Which I jumped a lot, but because there was something else that happened before I moved out of Tucson. Unless you want to finish with that, with the this part right here. I'm showing you the list because that happened before I moved. Not trying to spoil things ahead of schedule.
Yeah.
But I think we can rope that in. I'll just finish this part of the story.
Yeah.
But yeah, COVID hit, which was a huge thing for all of us, like creative types. But when COVID hit, I was deemed essential. I think you were too, right?
Yeah.
So we didn't quarantine. We didn't stay home. We were working the entire time. And I work in the food industry.
I got a letter that said, if you get stopped by the cops, show them this letter.
Yeah, no, me too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Crazy.
I had to hand those out, you know? But as someone who worked in the food industry and a member of management, I was at the restaurant open to close every single day for months. So again, I stopped going to school, stopped doing the school stuff. And then I think I finally realized like I need to get this together again. But that's when I was like, Juan, help me get this together.
Yeah.
You know, like I was finally like opening back up to the people in Tucson, like, because I kind of just walled myself off when I left, because of work, because of new city, because of school. But obviously, school wasn't a friggin' issue if I wasn't going, you know.
Right.
And we made some like I think the best things that we've made in a long time. Some of those videos for like the end of my college career. I went back, made up the classes, graduated just a couple months later than I anticipated.
Yeah.
So I ended up graduating at the end of 2020 with my bachelor's of science in cinematography.
Congratulations.
Thanks, man. I've done nothing with it since I left. It just sits on my wall. But that's a lie because, like I said before I went on this spiel, I needed to learn more. I needed to learn what I wasn't able to learn from YouTube videos. Now, I know what videos I need to look up to learn from YouTube videos because I didn't know what I needed to look up back then. You know? We got equipment from college, and I say we because we use it still to this day, which is just crazy to me that we're still using it. But again, it goes to say that like it's not always about the equipment, it's about the knowledge of the person using it.
Yeah.
But the best thing that college ever taught me was that I hate touching the camera. I don't want to be the one, like when we make videos, when we make skits and everything, college like was one of those things I was like, there's so much technical crap for these cameras now.
Yeah.
They're not just like point and focus and like get the right angles, because that's the creative part.
Yep.
That's what it is. I like the creative part of setting up shots and storytelling, and I don't like the technical part, which is what you know better. You know what I mean? Like, you know the technical, like how to make the lighting look good here, like how to make the colors pop here, focal lengths, all those things, right?
Yeah.
Which is why I keep coming to you like, dude, I just got a new camera. Can you teach me everything?
All the nitty gritty.
Yeah, so...
Well, because you don't want to just throw it in automatic mode and let the camera... Because you can still do that.
And you'll get something that looks fine.
Yeah, but you can get so, like, much better photos, even video, if you learn your settings, if you learn your lens, if you learn your camera, what your camera is capable of.
Yeah, that main class that I just kept skipping out on was about the technical stuff in the camera. So when I took it the second time to make it up, I sped through it and didn't retain anything.
Yeah.
Because I was like, oh, the next class is screenwriting. Oh, the next class is storyboarding. Oh, the next class is design.
Yeah.
Yeah, I want to do those more. Like, most of the camera technical aspect things are math related. Doesn't retain. Does not stay up here in the brain.
Especially on this camera, because it's like, oh, how many millimeters until your subject is in focus? And it's like, huh?
Do I need a measuring tape?
Huh? What?
But no, like I said, I like the more creative side of all the stuff. So I think it really helped me learn all those things that I needed to learn about story structures and shot composition and the way lighting affects shots and the way that just how your subject is standing can change the feel, you know?
Yeah.
How high the camera is off the ground or above your subject, below your subject. The amount of things that we made during my college career, when I look at the first couple videos, they're good. And then I look at the last one that we did, the one that made my my teacher, my instructor cry. Significantly different.
Yeah.
Significantly. But there's also significant things that went wrong, like I didn't white balance properly, or I didn't set the picture profile perfectly, I didn't color correct enough, things like that, right? The technical.
Did you shoot that video in 4K?
No, because it's too expensive to get 4K for this camera.
Because I noticed on that video there's like a small like haze over it, and that usually happens when you shoot 4K.
It was the wrong picture profile with the wrong white balance, and then trying to fix it after the fact, which created that. And I wanted it to kind of be muted, so when I edited, it kind of
worked.
Yeah, like I figured it out to make it work, but it wasn't what I wanted, you know. And then we also did shots with my iPhone to like create like a different feel for like some of the parts.
Certain shots, yeah.
I don't know. We don't need to talk about that one per se right now. I think we need to go backwards a little bit.
And we're going to reel it back.
We're going to reel it back. So we're running short on time again. So
Part
we got
four?
No. I think we can just maybe cut out a couple things that we're going to talk about just to get to the finished project.
I don't know why I keep looking over there like I don't have it
right
in front of my face.
Thank you, Apple, for shared notes so we can make changes on the fly on two different screens.
Exactly.
I only took off something of mine. If you want to take off anything of yours, that's totally fine.
That's not important.
But when I first started college, I think it was a year in or so, is when we moved in together, just you and me.
Yep.
We had already been making some projects, like the one I'm just going to mention, we don't need to talk about it, is the roommate troubles video, which was a project for school. And it was just so funny because we were just talking about things we hated when there was 4 of us living in an apartment together.
Yeah.
And we turned it into a video. But that led, and I think right before is when we started like the big thing that this whole series was leading up to, which was BJ in the morning.
Version 1.
Version 1, which Sorry, it's not online anymore.
Season 1.
Season 1, if you will. Season 0, if you won't. But we started, I don't even know why we started a podcast. I think we were just talking about it one day.
It was always a thought to do a podcast.
Yeah.
So, like, we were going to do a Tangled Beards podcast. Remember that?
Mm-hmm.
And we did one episode, and it was the biggest disaster of our fucking lives.
Yeah.
Because we had, 6 people?
I do. Yeah. We were all sitting around the table, and there was like actors. There was us, all from Rager.
No,
Was it like Pokemon Go era?
Yeah, so it was like
we were all drunk too.
Yeah,
like, that was the biggest problem.
And I had wondered like why certain people were there when we did it, but who am I to say anything? Yeah. So
it wasn't a solo idea. It wasn't just our idea. It was a group of us. So.
And everyone was drunk, and we had really nothing to talk about. We were just bullshitting.
I think we learned what a podcast was. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah. And people were burping and freaking farting and making all kinds of weird.
It wasn't good.
It was horrible.
It wasn't good at all.
It was the worst thing ever.
Mm-hmm.
And so when we moved in together, it was like, we should do a podcast. Like, it was always a thought.
Yeah.
That this would be fun.
Yeah, like we would just have 2-hour-long conversations in the middle of the day. Like, why don't we record things? What were we talking about yesterday? I don't remember. Shit, we should have recorded it. But it legit led to us just setting up a laptop at our kitchen table with some mics that were definitely not plugged into that laptop for the first episode.
First 3 episodes.
Yeah, first 3. And we sat there and just kind of talked similar to how we have been the last couple episodes, just less in detail for the first episode. But we started just talking about movies and music and pop culture things, how we have been for the last year.
Yeah.
But just more drunk. Younger, less experienced, more random people,
more nasally.
Our voices were still like really high pitched. No, but for real, I think that the hardest part was we were doing them every night, like evening time, drinking before, during, after, not having any idea what we were doing for the first few episodes for sure. There was no structure. And we just kept bringing random people into the room to sit in and talk with us. Yeah. And sometimes it worked. Sometimes it did not. But then we started getting a groove on, and we were like planning episodes ahead of time. We had a full on producer Chris was there helping us out, making sure our audio was good, which now we do by ourselves. We didn't have camera set up ever, so it was only audio, which we missed out on so many opportunities, especially for like BJ in the Morning Volume 2 or version 2. Like, yeah, we talk about all the time, like, dang, I wish we had camera set up for some of these things. And then you and me started working on a music video for a local band. Yeah. Desert Fish, shout out to them, friends of the show. So that was like the most ambitious thing that I think we've done in a long time.
Was the podcast?
The podcast with you and me, like doing a music video together.
Oh, yeah.
I just figured I'd lump them in together since they were very heavily influenced with each other for a bit there. We shot the music video over the course of like a couple months, right? Maybe a month or 2. I was living in... No, we were still here. We're still living together. I would get off my like huge long shift, go straight over to the Desert Fish house, meet you there. You were taking pictures. I was doing video. We were teaming up, designing their booklet for their CD release that was coming out, and shooting this music video, like editing it together and like making rough drafts. And we had sets, and like we shot on location at a venue. And we ended up debuting their music video and the single on the podcast.
Yeah.
And we had another episode where we did live music on the podcast, which is still my favorite episode we've ever done, because it felt like that was the whole joke forever, was that we wanted a radio show.
Yeah.
Which it's hard to do without music licensing, right? So it became a podcast is what we did.
Yeah.
But like having music on the podcast, like local bands and local artists performing live music, was like my favorite thing. So that's that. What do you have to say? I just kind of rambled for 7 minutes.
I mean, I thought what we had going was really good. Listening back to some of the episodes, sure, not as great as
we thought
it was, but I think we had something going really strong, and it's unfortunate that we had to stop. And we did stop for 4 years?
Yeah, because that's when I moved. And then when I came back, we were both just so busy. And then I don't. Do you want to jump to it, or like to version 2 when it started?
Yeah. Well,
we had been talking about it for 3 years before. Like the entire time we weren't doing it, we were like, we should do it. But it wouldn't be all the time. It would be like randomly throughout the year. Like, we should bring the podcast back.
Yeah, we should do it. We should do it.
Hey, I found this hat. You know, the old podcast hat.
Yeah.
I gave it to Tara, and you're like, what the fuck? I was like, she's a big fan. So I gave it to her. But we should do the podcast again. Like, just randomly. We would just like talk about it and then not bring it up again. How did we get back into it?
Well, before all this, I had done other podcasts, right? I did.
Right. I wasn't sure if you wanted to bring all those up.
Yeah, I mean,
I didn't think they were that important to you and like your journey or whatever.
No,
they weren't important, right?
Well,
I'm just kidding.
A whole year had passed, and I had missed casting. You were gone.
Yeah.
So, I started a podcast with somebody else. And then that lasted 24 episodes, as long as our podcast.
Yeah, 24 episodes.
And then
did I come on that podcast?
You did.
Which one was that?
Untamed.
Yeah. So I was a guest on that one once. And then
for some reason we fell off doing that, and then I started my podcast that I did by myself, which was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Until I stopped getting help.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then I fell off after that. We're not going to
I was a guest on that one too.
You were?
When we did the unofficial BJ in the Morning episode 25.
You were?
Yeah.
And I thought that podcast was great. I thought I could have been somebody. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it was doing really well for a small period of time, and then somebody messed it up.
Yeah.
I mean, we messed it up.
Yeah. No, I mean, it's a group effort at the end of the day, right?
Yeah.
Anyway. I wasn't involved in that.
No,
podcast.
No, you were not.
But I do remember.
It was your birthday.
Right. Yeah, that's where I was going. Yeah.
It was your birthday, and you were off doing your thing. And I was talking.
It was my 30th birthday.
Yeah.
So I was getting hammered. Like everyone was buying me drinks. Some random lady didn't we do shots right when we got to the bar because some random lady bought a shot. So I was gone.
Yeah.
And then you did some shit. What did you do?
I told our number one fan, Tara.
Shout out.
Best
friend of the show.
I told her I've been trying to tell Brendan that we should start BJ in the Morning again. And he just doesn't want to. And when I mean doesn't want to, not that you didn't want to, it was more like it just didn't happen.
Yeah.
You're like, oh, okay, yeah,
we'll
be
do
cool.
it someday. Maybe someday we'll bring it back.
You kind of like brushed it off a little. And she got so excited. She's like, Juan, you have to do this. You have to.
Yeah.
And I was like, I know. I've been saying it the whole time. And And then she brought it up to you,
Mm-hmm.
and she said, Brendan, I don't remember exactly her words, but like
I definitely
along
don't.
the lines of, Brendan, if you guys don't start BJ in the morning again, I'm going to be so upset.
Yeah.
Or something like that. And you just kind of looked at me and were just like, yeah, yeah. Hey. I think you came up with some stupid excuse, and I was like, dude, I've been telling you for like months.
Yeah.
Months.
Yeah.
And one day you texted me and was like, I'm ready.
And then I think I just immediately posted a picture of us on the Instagram after not posting for 4 years.
Yeah.
And I was like, coming soon.
Coming soon.
And it was just a picture of both of us drunk at my 30th birthday.
Yeah.
And then we didn't do anything for months.
That's okay.
Like we didn't record anything. We didn't like set up mics or anything like that. I think I started working on the new logo, which is this one here. I love this logo. And
it's awesome.
It took some convincing for you, and I know that you really loved the old logo too. But this one, it's so freaking clean.
I loved the arrow.
Yeah.
That's what I wanted the most.
You wanted the arrow in this one so badly, and it just
didn't work.
There was a couple times I purposely sent bad arrows on this logo just so you would just finally get it. But look at it. Look at this logo.
It's
all
great.
you guys listening, listen to this logo.
Listen to this logo.
Listen. Perfect. It's perfection. But no, the fun thing is now we have all these different ideas for designs, and like we've made stickers already. Look, there's a big ass logo. We have shirts. We have these mugs that are just for us. Don't get any
just
ideas.
For us.
But like we have so many different funny ideas for like merch technically. Just because of making those shitty logos, like, and like trying to figure this logo out.
Yeah.
Because we realized that everyone went to circular logos. The frames on most social media are circles now. Why?
Don't know.
So we did that, and then I remember just posting the new logo, over some black video with just audio clips from the first podcast.
That was awesome.
And I
love that.
I don't know if you noticed in the last couple episodes, I kept that kind of feel for the intros to the videos on YouTube with the like
this
film or the video grain,
the film burn and stuff like that.
But yeah,
I noticed.
And that is it. That's how we got here.
That's pretty much our whole life story.
And now we're 67, 68, 69 episodes in.
69.
If this is the 69th episode, A, I'm going to be mad. B, it's not going to be that episode. And D, if the 69th episode is not about weird, like, naughty stuff, we messed up.
Okay.
But Juan, we got a couple minutes. So with all this talk of our past, things that we've made, things that we've done, why don't we just take a couple minutes each and think about, like, what are your hopes for what's next?
Think about?
Talk about. Sorry.
Right.
Whoever goes first has to go first. The other person gets to think. Yeah, we'll just sit here and. But yeah, just talk about a little bit of like maybe what you hope for next, like aspirations.
Yeah.
Or even if you just want to say something inspirational to someone else out there who might be listening and wanting to get into photography or design or content creation of any sort. Do you want to go first?
Well, the first thing I have to say.
The second thing I have to say.
My aspirations, right, for the future is one, the podcast, to continue doing the podcast, because no matter how many people listen, how many people watch, whatever, I love doing it, and I know you do too.
Some days.
Number two, now that I'm hopefully traveling not as much as I was.
For work.
I want to get back into my photography, which I kind of put on a very serious back burner.
Yeah, it was like the back burner behind the original back burner.
Yeah, it's like the chicken warmer. You know what I mean?
It's like in your spice cabinet when you just keep moving that one out of the way to get the one you actually want, and it works its way all the way back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or it's the cabinet on top of the
fridge.
No, the
the cabinet above the fridge.
The cabinet above the oven. Where it just gets all the grease from the fucking... Yeah, that's my photography right now.
Yeah.
So, getting back into the photography, those are my two main goals, honestly.
Yeah.
And anyone out there listening who's doing photography or videography or anything creative, art... hair, makeup, music, whatever.
Video game making. Whatever.
Don't lose the passion. Once something, we've talked about this before, we didn't talk about it on this episode, but once something becomes a job or feels like it becomes a job and that you don't want to do it anymore, you kind of got to take a step back and realize why you started doing that. That's kind of like where I'm at with my photography too. Like, yeah, sure, I took a long break from doing it, but I felt like it was much needed, you know?
Yeah, because not meaning to cut you off during your inspirational moment.
No, it's fine.
But like burnout's real. Burnout doesn't just happen at your day job.
Right.
Burnout happens in your hobbies.
So make sure you always remember why you started doing the thing that you love. Good one, huh?
Yeah.
Good one.
Yeah.
What about you, man? You got 4 minutes.
So my aspirations for the podcast is to branch out into other media. Like, obviously we do video podcasts. We've made a couple of videos for like extra videos for YouTube, TikTok, things like that, that aren't just podcast related. I want to continue to do more things like that because I think we have a lot of good ideas, B, a lot of people that want to work with us, and that's not really it's possible right for now? Them with the podcast. I want to do more live stuff. I want to start getting the bearings down for live content, so streaming live on YouTube or Twitch, not just playing video games or whatever, but like doing this live to, I don't know, get the jitters out. I know it's not going to be people sitting right in front of us because we do have hopes of maybe someday possibly like doing something in like a live venue sort of thing, like. Dude, what?
You already know that is one of my biggest fucking dreams for this podcast.
Yeah, why didn't you say it then?
I don't know. I don't know.
No, but that's why I think we need to start doing live stuff like on the internet first, to find out the flow of things, to figure out like what works best and what doesn't. I've had ideas. I've been thinking about things, and we just haven't had time to talk about anything but the episode that we're working on that week, just from both of our work schedules being weird, you traveling. But I think, like you said, once that settles down a bit, we'll have more time, you know? So those are my aspirations right now. They're really smaller goals. And I think we can hit them. It's just going to take us like staying up a little bit later on a work night than we normally do, or me coming over here earlier, or you coming down to my apartment, like, and just sitting down and talking, not in front of a camera, you know? Or,
sorry,
you
guys.
know, even if we sit in front of the camera, we just don't post it. But like inspirational wise, there's been so many like ups and downs for our journey. There's been a lot of moments where I just was like, I'm just not cut out for this. Yeah. There's been more than one occasion where I've thought about just throwing all my equipment away and never touching it again. And then there are days where I just sit and watch YouTube videos all day and get mad at myself for not doing it too. That can ruin your drive and your mentality and like where you want to go and where you want to be. But the fact that I didn't do any of that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Like, means a lot to me personally. So what I would just say is similar to you is like, just don't burn out. But also, if you're not learning something new for your craft or for your hobby every single day, then you're staying still.
Mm-hmm.
How many times are we like sending videos to each other about some new way to edit or design or topics or things like that, right?
Yeah.
I don't know. My biggest thing is, we already said it a bunch of times. It's not the equipment that makes the creator; it's the creator that makes the content.
Mm-hmm.
That's the easiest way to put it. The first things we ever made were on little potato cams back in 2008.
Yeah.
Were they good? No, but you've got to start somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
And I think this last year or so, since we started BJ in the Morning version 2, I've learned way more than I did in the last 5 years that we weren't doing the podcast. You know? So, stop sometimes. Stop, take a breath, look around. I think Ferris Bueller said it best. You know, like, if life moves pretty fast, if you don't stop and look around, you might miss it.
Mm-hmm.
That's
Beautiful.
how it works.
Wonderful.
And then things with the peoples and the places.
Yeah.
You
know what my favorite Ferris Bueller quote is?
No.
Bueller.
It's kind of a boring one though.
Bueller.
You know? It's kind of...
Bueller.
He's not there.
Bueller.
But awesome. I think we nailed it. In 3 parts, we did it. We only skipped like 3 things. And there's 3 things that if you really want us to talk about, you'll find us on the internet. Send us a message and we'll let you know what we skipped.
Right.
You can find us at places like Instagram, TikTok, and Twitch at
BJ in the Morning _
and on YouTube at
BJ in the Morning Podcast.
And if you're watching currently on YouTube, make sure you to drop a like, hit that bell, comment below what was your favorite part over the last 3 episodes? What really stood out to you? Have we done enough work? Have we failed enough times to be where we are now?
And
if the answer is yes, share this video to 5 people.
And pay us $5.
And pay us $5. But if you're listening on any of the podcast listening apps, please be sure to subscribe, rate, review, all those good things. Because you never know. We might start seeing some traction and get some people in here and finally become the ultimate podcast. But it would be cool to start getting more people on the show someday. We gotta hit our goals before that can happen.
For sure.
Help us hit our goals,
please.
Well, I'm not begging. It'd be cool if you did. Juan's crying though, so if you want him to keep crying, don't help us reach our goals. But thank you so much for listening to this episode of BJ in the Morning and for our 3-part miniseries coming to an end on the history of BJ in the Morning. I'm Brendan.
And I'm Juan. And we will talk to you next time.